What up, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 theory video. As you can see by the title of the video, today I want to read one of the craziest theories ever written. The reason why I'm giving the video that title is because the person who sent me the email is claiming that's exactly what the theory is. I was recently sent an email by a subscriber of mine who goes by the name of Zain Hassan. The email contains a theory that he wanted me to read, and after I took a look at it, I figured I would read it to all of you as well. Now, I'm sure that most of you have heard about a new theory that says Littlefinger faked his death. Well, what I'm about to read to you today also says that Littlefinger faked his death, but this one has some new layers added to it. In Zain's theory, not only did Littlefinger fake his death, but he has also disguised himself as several different characters over the course of the story. So let's take a look at what he had to say, then at the end of the video, let me know what you think. Hi, first of all, I want to start by saying that I'm a huge fan of your channel. I'm very excited to share this theory with you. Let's get started, but before we go, I want you to know that the final point of the theory is a mind twister, and the chaos is a ladder theory begins. Petyr Baelish died 15 years before the events of Game of Thrones, before the first episode or the first chapter. Petyr Baelish challenged Brandon Stark, Eddard Stark's older brother, in a duel when Brandon was promised to Catelyn. Here's a quote from chapter 40 in A Game of Thrones. Catelyn remembers the duel between Brandon Stark and Petyr Baelish. When Brandon saw the limited armor Petyr was wearing, he took off his armor. Petyr had begged her for a favor, but her father promised her to Brandon. As she had given the favor to Brandon, Catelyn had begged him not to kill Petyr, and he had agreed. The fight ended quickly with a deep cut to Petyr's ribs, which Catelyn was sure was fatal. That was the last time she had seen Petyr until King's Landing. Did you read that? Until King's Landing. She was certain that slash into his ribs was fatal, and she didn't see him survive. He disappeared for 15 years. The first time she saw him after that duel was when she comes to King's Landing looking for answers about Bran's fall, and where he confronts her that the dagger is his. This is why he betrayed Catelyn and Eddard, because the real Petyr that once cared for Catelyn is dead. Littlefinger, however, has no ties to Catelyn. He was playing the game of faces. He was living as Petyr Baelish, but he had his own plan, and Eddard's death was a part of it. If you remember in episode 5 in season 1, Ned Stark was preparing to leave the capital after he and King Robert had an argument at the small council regarding killing Daenerys. Ned was packing his bags and he ordered his men to prepare the girls. However, Littlefinger walks into his chamber and he convinces him to stay one more hour so he would help him track the truth about Jon Arryn's death. Later, he also manipulates Ned's decision to denounce, attain Sir Gregor Clegane, sentence him to death, and his command to bring Tywin Lannister to answer for his bannerman's crimes, eventually leading Ned to his death. More importantly, starting a chaos. If Petyr Baelish is dead, who's Littlefinger? Up to this point of the series, no one knows what Littlefinger wants, or really, no one knows anything about him except that in season 4 he said, "My great-grandfather is from Braavos, the home of the Faceless Men," but that's Petyr Baelish's background, not Littlefinger's. The sole thing we're certain about is that Littlefinger thrives in chaos. He sees it as an opportunity for advancement. The answer to whose Littlefinger's true identity is, Littlefinger is 3 people. Bear with me on this. 2 of these faces were protecting Arya for an unknown reason. However, the third one could have the reason. Back in Season 1, Arya begins training with the Braavosi Syrio Forel, a man that seems to be training Arya not just how to hold a sword and fight, but mentally preparing her for what to come next. Example is, one thing we say to death, not today, as if he knew what was coming. In the end, we don't actually see Syrio dying. Possibly, he's a faceless man. In Season 2, Jaqen H'ghar appears for the first time as a prisoner. The question is, why a faceless man is a prisoner unless he intended to get caught? Because Syrio changed his face to Jaqen H'ghar and followed Arya. We'll definitely see in Season 8 a flashback to Syrio's escape. To support this claim, we go back to Jaqen H'ghar. In fact, the very first scene that he appears in, Jaqen was looking directly at Arya, knowing her identity even that she was hiding as a boy. What does this have to do with Littlefinger? At the same time of those events, Littlefinger left King's Landing on Cersei's command to locate Arya. Along to that fact, he was absent for many episodes on the show. As a faceless man himself, Littlefinger did find Arya. However, he was appearing to Arya using his other face, Jaqen H'ghar. He was returning as Littlefinger when Jaqen was gone as well. Jaqen disappeared for almost a season after he helped Arya escape Harrenhal, In sync with that, Littlefinger was gone during Jaqen's appearances. More importantly, whenever he appeared, he was traveling to war camps close to Harrenhal. When Cersei asked him for the reason of his absence, he confronted her that he was traveling. Remember, there are huge time gaps between a lot of scenes. HBO is so good at editing that it appears smooth. Remember that scene when Daenerys was at Dragonstone and within a blink of an eye, she and her dragon saved Jon north of the Wall? The same editing tricks could have been used during Jaqen and Littlefinger's appearance timing. Finally, when Arya decides to go back to Westeros, Jaqen appears happy to that fact. But why? Before why, in Season 7, Sansa is talking to Littlefinger about the Faceless Men. She tells him that Arya is one of them. Notice Littlefinger's reaction. He knows she's not. He witnessed it as Jaqen H'ghar when she told him, "A girl is Arya Stark of Winterfell and I'm going home." In Season 7, before Littlefinger got executed by Arya using his own dagger, he did two things. Number 1, he met with the girl in the stables. Number 2, he tricked the Starks into killing him. The Faceless Man that is hiding behind Petyr Baelish's face had a plan. But it changed when Bran became a direct threat to him. He feared that Bran will look into his past and learn his identity and what he had in mind. He realized that the danger when Bran repeated his famous line, "Chaos is a ladder." He knew what he was facing now. That's why he needed to trick the Starks into killing Petyr Baelish's face. Bran cannot see things if he didn't look into it, like Lyanna and Rhaegar's wedding. He didn't know about them until Sam had told him. He needed Bran off of his back so he can resume his plan quietly. He told Sansa, "When I try to understand a person's motives, I like to play a little game. I assume the worst." He was playing it before that scene. As a matter of fact, he's been playing it the whole time. Once again, it's the game of faces, the same game Jaqen H'ghar taught Arya in Braavos. An episode earlier, Littlefinger asked Sansa, "Why aren't you happy? What do you want that you don't have?" She answered, "At the moment, peace and quiet." However, he knew she wanted him dead, but her need of the Knights of the Vale was what kept him alive for the moment. Another danger added to Bran's vision. In the next episode, the famous and every Littlefinger theory scene happened. He handed a piece of metal to a girl in the stables, which is the coin of Braavos, aka the Faceless Men's coin. However, what not every other Littlefinger mentions, he knew that Arya was tailing him. Third Stark danger. So, he guided Sansa into catching his lies. He used her because he knows that she's a slow learner, just as she said. Because only death can pay for life, and that girl, who's a faceless man herself, needed to die so that he can live. We will eventually know more in Season 8 about the only death pays for life ties to magic, and why the Faceless Men don't fear death. They might be unkillable, like Jaqen H'ghar when he killed himself before Arya went blind. Finally, the true identity of Littlefinger, Jaqen H'ghar, and Syrio Forel. The mastermind Faceless Man is Rhaegar Targaryen. Let me explain this. Rhaegar was born amidst a terrible event at Summerhall where fire destroyed the castle and killed other Targaryens, including Aegon V and Duncan the Small. The Crown Prince grew up with a complex fascination for the runes. Here he was happiest, yet also saddened by the memory of the tragedy. Refer to Chapter 42 in A Storm of Swords. He did like to visit it by himself and sleep in the ruined hall of Summerhall beneath the moon and the stars. Maester Aemon thought that Rhaegar's birth was associated with the prince that was promised, but Rhaegar later thought that the legend was associated with his own son, Aegon. In a way, Rhaegar was the dragon that hatched at Summerhall. Rhaegar was very fixated on prophecy, and we still don't know the full extent of whatever prophecy or prophecies he was expecting to fulfill. But it's possible that whatever Rhaegar read told him, in his interpretation, that he'd eventually die doing something. So if he had that hanging over him for his adolescent and adult life, that would also explain why he'd be melancholy. Think of the idea that whoever Azor Ahai and or the prince that was promised is, will eventually die doing whatever it is that they do. This takes us to the whole plot behind the theory. Chaos is a ladder, the most important point of the theory. We said Littlefinger thrives in chaos, because it's integral in his belief that chaos is an opportunity for advancement. This is why Littlefinger started a chaos before the events of Game of Thrones. He convinced Lysa Arryn, Catelyn Stark's sister, to murder her husband Jon Arryn, the Hand of the King. He started another chaos at the beginning of Game of Thrones. He sent the assassin with his dagger to make the Starks and the Lannisters go into war. Now where am I going with this? 15 years before the first episode of Game of Thrones, Rhaegar Targaryen started a chaos when he passed his wife Elia Martell at the tourney and he placed a crown of winter roses in Lyanna Stark's lap. Rhaegar Targaryen started another chaos when he convinced everyone that he kidnapped Lyanna after she was promised to Robert Baratheon. Now he also added 5 different points that support the claim that Rhaegar is Littlefinger. Number 1. When King Robert defeated Rhaegar during the rebellion, Rhaegar's body was never found. Number 2. The Valyrian dagger. When the assassin was sent to kill Bran after his fall, the dagger appeared for the first time. We learn later it was Littlefinger's as he admitted to Catelyn Stark. He lies and says he lost it to Tyrion Lannister. In Season 7, Sam is reading the old books in search for Dragonglass. However, a page comes by with that dagger drawn on it. If you try to read it, you can make out that only Valyrians had this sort of weapons and they used it to decorate it with dragonglass and rubies. Targaryens used to decorate their ornaments, weapons, and shields with rubies. Rhaegar's shield was decorated with rubies the day he was defeated. That's how the river was named Ruby's Ford. How did it come to the possession of Littlefinger, unless he's Rhaegar? Number 3. The soundtrack. Littlefinger's theme music is used many times before we are introduced to Peter Baelish's character. Many times in key moments that we learn seasons later, he's actually behind the events. One scene that Chaos is a Ladder soundtrack was used in is a crucial scene confirming my theory. At the episode's final scene when Arya was escaping King's Landing as Zari the Boy, with Hot Pie, Gendry, and Jaqen H'ghar, Littlefinger's face, aka Rhaegar's face. The latest teaser, The Feather. Littlefinger's sigil is a mockingbird. As the teaser goes by, the feather is a crucial element in Jon's parentage. Perhaps the only house with a bird sigil is Littlefinger's. Number 5. In the crypts, while speaking to Sansa about Lyanna and Rhaegar, notice his reaction when Sansa says,
"How many tens of thousands had to die because Rhaegar chose your aunt?"
Yes, he chose her. And then he kidnapped her and raped her.
Winter is coming and going. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things we want to see happen in Game of Thrones Season 8.
There's one more yet to come.
Give the order then.
Think you know Game of Thrones? Click below to sign in with your Google or Facebook account and take the new trivia quiz on WatchMojo.com. It's pretty hard, but get it right and you could win a collectible box from Culturefly, loaded with exclusive Game of Thrones toys, accessories, and apparel. Follow the link in the description. For this list, we're taking a look at story arcs, characters, and set pieces we want to see in the final season of this groundbreaking HBO series.
He won't be a boy forever. And winter is coming.
Number 10. The winner of the Iron Throne. As the show's title suggests, someone will inevitably claim the Iron Throne at the end of this game.
I now proclaim Cersei of the House Lannister, first of her name, Queen of the Andals and the First Men, Protector of the Seven Kingdoms.
Outside of a Night King victory, the worst case scenario would be Cersei remaining on the throne. In a perfect world, Tyrion would be crowned king and finally get the respect he deserves, but that's highly unlikely.
I will never sit on the Iron Throne.
As the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and the rightful heir to the throne, Jon Snow may go from the king in the north to the king of the Andals and the First Men. Of course, if Jon's feelings for Daenerys get in the way, he might forfeit the throne to her. Or maybe the dragon and the wolf could rule together. Number 9. R'hllor revealed.
For the night is dark and full of terrors.
R'hllor is one of the most important and enigmatic figures in the show's lore. Worshipped by the Red Priests and Priestesses, this god of fire prophesied of a savior who would triumph over darkness while wielding the sword known as Lightbringer. It's been widely speculated that Jon Snow is the prince that was promised.
The Lord let you come back for a reason. Stannis was not the prince who was promised, but someone has to be.
Of course, since prince is a gender-neutral term in High Valyrian, perhaps this prophecy will be carried out by a princess who was born amidst salt and smoke. We're looking at you, Daenerys.
Daenerys Stormborn is the one who was promised. From the fire she was reborn to remake the world.
Yes.
She has freed the slaves from their chains and crucified the masters for their sins.
Either way, if the prophecy does indeed come to fruition, our hearts would literally catch on fire if the Lord of Light finally made a physical appearance. Number 8. To die in this strange country. Although she often seems confident on the surface, Melisandre revealed signs of vulnerability and her true form in Season 6. Based on what she told fellow Essos native Varys in Season 7, Melisandre's next appearance might be her last. Melisandre believes that she's destined to die in this strange country, and Varys' days are numbered as well. This could tie back to a voice Varys heard in the flames while being castrated by a sorcerer.
And I heard a voice answer his call.
While Varys can't recall what the voice said, Kinvara the Red Priestess seems to know. Season 8 not only needs to explain how Melisandre and Varys' fates are intertwined, but also reveal the words this mysterious voice spoke.
My lady.
I have to die in this strange country. Just like you.
Number 7. Jon and Arya reuniting.
You shouldn't have run from the guards.
I didn't run. You need better guards.
After spending several seasons apart, Arya, Sansa, and Bran were reunited in Season 7. There are still a couple of Stark reunions we're waiting for, however. While Jon got to catch up with Sansa before leaving Winterfell, he hasn't seen Bran or Arya in quite some time. Although Bran has some important information for his brother, it's the reunion between Arya and Jon we're most eager for.
His last name isn't really Snow, it's Sand.
Arya was still a young girl when Jon gave her needle as a parting gift in Season 1.
Sticking with the pointy end.
We can only imagine Jon's reaction when Arya shows him how skillful she's become with a sword. On that note, we also need to see these two together in battle. Number 6. The Clegane Bowl. It might not be canon yet, but we're keeping our fingers crossed that the Clegane Bowl actually happens in Season 8.
Leave him be!
According to this fan theory, brothers Gregor the Mountain and Sandor the Hound Clegane are destined to fight each other to the bloody end. While we did get to see these two square off in Season 1, the fight was cut short before a winner could be declared.
Stop this madness in the name of your...
Since then, the Mountain has only grown more monstrous thanks to Qyburn's little procedure. With his bare hands alone, the Mountain can separate someone's neck from their head. Even if the Hound somehow triumphs over his brother, there's no guarantee either sibling will walk away alive.
That's not how it ends for you, brother. You know who's coming for you. You've always known.
Number 5. Cersei Lannister's death. As satisfying as it was watching Joffrey Baratheon and Ramsay Bolton suffer painful deaths, there are still a few characters who've yet to receive their comeuppance.
That doesn't make sense.
Gold will be their crowns. Gold. Their shrouds.
It'd be fitting if Euron Greyjoy died at the hands of either Yara or Theon. The most dangerous person still in power, however, is Queen Cersei. Whatever humanity Cersei had left seemed to die with her children, and even Jaime is starting to realize this. In addition to abandoning his sister/lover in Season 7, there have been several clues hinting that Jaime will bring Cersei's reign of terror to an end.
I don't believe you.
For example, notice how Jaime's standing by the fingers while Cersei's standing on the neck in this scene.
You afraid of me?
Should I be?
Number 4. Arya crossing names off her list.
Your list?
Of people I'm going to kill.
Even if Jaime doesn't end up strangling Cersei to death, the Queen of Westeros is on Arya's list. And she is not the only one. No matter what outcome the Clegane Bowl has, Arya is unlikely to show much mercy towards the Mountain or the Hound, the latter of whom she already left for dead once.
Kill me. Kill me! Kill me!
Arya is also gunning for Ilyn Payne, who executed her father, and Beric Dondarrion, who sold Gendry. She added Melisandre to her list for kidnapping Gendry as well.
You're a witch. You're going to hurt him.
Speaking of which, could Melisandre have been alluding to Arya when she said,
I have to die in this strange country?
After seeing what Arya did to Walder Frey, nobody is safe from her.
The last thing you're ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at you as you die.
Number 3. A truly epic final battle. As far as action set pieces go, many fans assumed the series had peaked after the Battle of the Blackwater. Between the massacre at Hardhome, the Battle of the Bastards, and Daenerys' surprise attack, though, this show has only managed to top itself with each new season. With winter and the Great War coming, we're expecting a climax of epic proportions. Now that Viserions under the Night King's control, one or both of Daenerys' remaining dragons should be headed for the ultimate battle of ice and fire. As long as the Mother of Dragons is bringing Rhaegal and Drogon to the fight, it'd only be fitting if the Starks got to fight alongside the Direwolves.
Nymeria, it's me. Arya.
Number 2. Jon learning his true heritage. The Season 7 finale confirmed one of the most popular fan theories that's been floating around for years. Jon Snow is actually the son of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen.
Jon isn't really my father's son. He's the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and my aunt Lyanna Stark. He was born in a tower in Dorne.
Of course, Jon has yet to learn of his true parentage, nor has Daenerys. This puts the two lovers in a complicated position, not only because Daenerys is Jon's aunt, but also because Jon has a stronger claim to the throne than her.
He's never been a bastard. He's the heir to the Iron Throne.
If Jon and Daenerys learn the truth, we can imagine a few outcomes playing out in very different ways. No matter what transpires, we have a feeling Jon will inevitably find himself riding a dragon, especially after his interaction with Drogon. Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
I never got to have a mother, but Myrcella did. She was mine. And you took her from me. Why did you do that?
Forgive me, lad.
What are you doing? Let go of him! Tell them to stop!
Number 1. Jon Snow versus the Night King.
We are going to destroy the Night King and his army. We'll do it together. You have my word.
Jon Snow riding a dragon only seems more likely now that the Night King has a dragon of his own. Whether it's on foot or up in the air, these two kings are bound to go head-to-head in the Great War. This confrontation has been a long time coming, following their first encounter in Season 5 and another close call beyond the wall in Season 7. Going back even further, White Walkers and humans already clashed thousands of years ago during the War for the Dawn. With the wall tumbling down, the Night King is ready for round 2, and Jon may be the only one who can put him to rest for good. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.